parents don't know is that the body keeps score, right? All these trauma events kind of shape the way we think and feel about time, right? Time.
And even the relationship we have with them as well.
Money, and even how we want to live life.
And so you have to figure out, like, this is why rich people tend to continue to become even more wealthy, because they figured out that if I put $1 into the world, it needs to come back like tenfold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And without my effort.
Right. And so it's actually illegal to build wealth with these opportunities if you don't have the education. Hey, wait. I know you want to watch this next video, but listen, if you are an entrepreneur, business coach, business consultant, or a small business owner who has a story and wants to learn how to create multiple streams of income from your story, I need you to text me right now, my book, to 646-687-4152. That is my personal number. I have been an author for over 12 years. I've written 10 books. 4 of them have been bestsellers, and I've sold over 100,000 books. But I've also helped a lot of my clients take their expertise and put it into a story, then create multiple streams of income from that. So I want to help you do the same thing. So text my book to 646-687-4152. All right, let's go back to the video. All right, so welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. And so I have a great episode for you today, right? So if you're an insider, if you watch the show, if you are a subscriber to the channel, you know that we talk about real estate a lot. And we love real estate because real estate, I don't know any wealthy individuals who have not obtain their wealth using some form of real estate. Even when you think about McDonald's, which is the biggest fast food chain on the planet, their business is actually real estate. And so we've talked about fix and flips. We've talked about wholesaling. We've talked about out-of-state real estate. We talked about but we haven't gone granular. We haven't talked about multi-unit, multi-family investments, and we have the Kitti Sisters who are going to give us everything about how to become a real estate investor, how to leverage other people's money. They have a great story that I want to dive into, but we have Miss Palmy and Nancy Kitti, aka the Kitti Sisters. How you guys doing today?
Yes,
Good, we're great.
Thank you for having us here.
No, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So I want to really jump into real estate, the benefits of it, how it is, really what's going to build the most wealth for people. But before we even start there, for those who don't know, who are the Kitti Sisters?
Paul, you want to take that?
Yeah, so a little bit background on us. So we're like first generation immigrant family. When we moved here, our family, our parents were really working hard. And the phrase that we kept hearing from them all the time was, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time.
I don't have time for this.
I don't have time for this. I don't have time for
that.
Your open house. I don't have time to go to your school functions. I don't have time to take you to extracurricular activity. While other kids were doing all that stuff, we were like at home, latchkey kids, doing like basically staying by ourselves all day. TVs are babysitters. Like this happened since like first grade.
Wow.
Walk to school yourself, come home yourself. There's food, there's comforts, but there's no one else there. There's 3 kids. Our older brother, Nan, and I, we're just in the house. And so we were like, who are we to demand more of our parents' time? They're working super hard. This is a foreign land for them.
And they just sacrifice all their time and effort to give us a better life. So like Palm said, they would miss many monumental moments in our life, open houses, basketball championship games, or even our graduation, right? So they were so busy trading their time for money, like most of the parents. So we thought this is the way of life. And many times we feel insignificant, like it doesn't really matter, even if we excel in school or even if we get injured or need to be sent to the hospital, they still don't have time. So, and that became like
our way of life. So as adults, we thought, okay, so that is the way to do things.
And then what parents don't know is that the body keeps score, right? All these trauma events kind of shape the way we think and feel about time, right? Time.
And even the relationship we have with them as well.
Money, and even how we want to live life. And we're not saying this to do a sympathy card or to, throw a pity party. We're just saying it because these experiences shape the way we think, and also at the same time empower us to,
change it
basically.
Yeah. It's a cycle that happens, and unless you do something dramatic to break it, you will continue to repeat that generation after generation.
But honestly, we kind of fell into the same cycle as
the
them, right? Because
Yeah.
we didn't know. We were still young, so when we were working, we were still busy grinding away, trading our time for money, and it just took one major event that completely threw our life upside down. And that's when our largest client, when we were in fashion manufacturing, decided to shut down their store. Just like that, overnight, we lost 95% of our income.
Wow.
And we were working together, so we only had one source of income. So we told each other, okay, either we continue the same path, just find new client, and then just, continue to grind away and just live this stressful, unhappy life, or what we believe, there should be a different way of life.
Yeah.
There should be a better way of life, and we keep on searching.
Yeah.
And then that's when we encounter multifamily apartments, and that's completely changed our way of life.
And I want to unpack some of the stuff that you said because couple of things, right? I'm a first generation American as well. So my parents are from Haiti.
Yeah.
And so I understand sort of like that latchkey kid, lifestyle, if you will, because my mom, my dad wasn't in the household with us, but my mom, because she didn't really speak, good English, so she could only work like factory jobs, right?
Exactly.
And so while she's working factory jobs and she's like giving her time, me in turn, I had, I was raised low income, so I'm, raised in the streets, if you will. And then it got to a point where, I played basketball. I act at one time. I did all these things that nobody in my family ever went to because they were so busy with. And so now as a parent, right? So I have 2 children. As a parent, I'm like, no, like I am not ever gonna miss anything that my kids have. I do chaperone, I do everything. I make sure that I'm present because of this time. And so I love that you said that, as part of the introduction and really just kind of talking about real estate being able to buy you time if you do it right, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit, right? Because, I know that, especially in our community, what is sexy as it relates to real estate is like fix and flip, wholesaling, and those are like the main 2. Like we don't really talk about buy and hold that much.
Yeah.
So it's really like, all right, fix and flip, wholesale, and it's almost like a badge of honor to like post on social media, like, look, I'm dirty. You know what I'm saying? A toilet, like I'm busting up pipes. But the truth is, whether you have a 9-to-5 or you do real estate full time, fixing and flipping wholesale is still exchanging time for money, right? So talk a little bit about the type of real estate that you do. How are we buying back our time doing it the way you do it?
So the first thing I wanted to say is like, most people, I know a lot of your listeners, they work 9-to-5, whatever, or they have businesses, even real estate.
They're successful.
They're successful. So they're spending almost all their time in their active income. They're not focusing at all. So there's a difference. Active income versus wealth. That's the distinction. Multifamily, real estate, multifamily allows you to build wealth over time. you're gonna focus on your job. Even as flipping, we are not proponent of being dirty all the time. I think there's a better way to make money.
Before we started apartments, we actually we were flipping too.
So we never got dirty ourselves. Because
but we kind of understood, okay, we're going in the same rabbit hole again, trading a lot of time for money. So we're like, again, there must be a better way.
So the thing is, like with multifamily, the biggest difference is you are not hands-on day to day. You're not managing the property. You're not dealing with all the toilets, termites. You're not dealing with bad tenants that you have to evict. You're not dealing with collecting rents, like you're stepping yourself above that fray. And when you do that, then you can buy back more of your time while still maximizing your profit. The profit potential for multifamily apartments, either actively in doing like what we do or passively where you're just putting money out there, is significantly more than what you would get from like generally flipping or wholesaling for sure.
And when you say multi-family apartments, you're not talking like a house that has 4 units.
No. We're talking large scales.
Yeah, for the Kitti Sisters, what we consider multi-family apartment is anything 65 units or above. Like, yes.
Playtime over is the big league. Go.
Yeah, and
big leagues.
And the thing is, like, people always feel intimidated. And a lot of time we talk to people, they're like, oh, I want to start small. You are doing way more work with small projects. If you're managing even one house yourself, you're doing more work than we do to manage. And
so I'm not gonna lie, that intimidates me still.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm excited about this interview because, so my first time hearing you talk, actually, pardon me, was in Cancun, Mexico.
With Neo, yeah.
With Neo, right? So we were at Neo's mastermind, and Neo, is. Just talking about stuff that he's doing personally. And I think at the time, I'm pretty sure he has more now, but I think at the time he had like 170 doors or something like that. Yeah. And he's like, I got 170 doors. And in my head, I'm like, 170 doors? Like, how? And so you started talking and you started, explaining about, how to get into, multifamily apartments. And then we met again, we're all in the same mastermind, or 2 masterminds, because I'm Category Kings as well, but in Myron's mastermind. And then we, again, learning a little more about what you do, for me, it intimidates me, right? But the more and more I hear you talk about it, and you talk about being able to leverage other people's money in order to get these large scale apartments, that eases the anxiety, if you will, right? So for somebody who is brand new, right? Like they've never invested ever before, and they have some money. They're like, you know what? Banks are failing, right? A lot of them,
yes,
right? They're gonna be 2 banks left. That's it, right?
Yeah, conglomerates.
Exactly. It's gonna be conglomerates, right? Chase,
America.
right? It's gonna be chasing, right? That's it, right? So banks are failing left and right. Inflation is still high. Interest rates still high. People are losing money on their 401k. They're like, listen, I got money, and I want to invest. What is their first step? If it's to get into multifamily apartments?
The very first thing is get educated. I think education alleviates a lot of the stress and anxiety because now you understand the mechanics of what we're doing.
Yes, and I think a lot of people understand that they want to be in real estate, like you said earlier, right? That there's no one that we know of, the wealthy people, who don't either own or
grew their wealth through
real estate. Yeah. So they understand that. It's just that if they're not investing in multifamily apartments because they don't know enough about it. And for some of the listener and a lot of people, like even us, we start off as doing single family because we thought, okay, that's the way of life. We were taught like, okay, when we have some extra money, we're just gonna own rental. But as you can see, like the more you start owning rental, sometimes they actually start owning you because the tenants will be calling you during your holidays and stuff like that. So gradually people are gonna move towards multifamily because they're like, this is too hands-on. Yeah. I want to have financial freedom. I want to have that time freedom. So the first step, like Palm said, and it's kind of gradually that they're going to step from single family and they're going to want to enter multifamily. Or some people who are super smart, way smarter than us, they just jump into multifamily before us and they're going to be like, okay, well, I'm into this. Like, what did I do? Well, first of all, like Palm said, you need to get educated.
Yep.
And the second thing is leverage. So there's several layers of leverage. Team. So who's your team? Property management is a team. Syndicators, like active people like us, that's your team. You need to find the right person. Lawyers, CPAs, tax attorney, all those people are your teammates. You can be new to multifamily, but your team cannot be. So that's at the first level. Then the next level is tools. What are the analyzer tools? What are some of the tools you can use to track your investments? All things that can help make this process easier, not so like time consuming. Then there's time. Like what do we use to leverage time? Other people's money, tax advantages, all these things are leverage points that you can use.
I think what we love to leverage more than a lot of stuff is Mr. IRS.
Yeah.
We get to, like, when you're investing in multifamily, there's a massive tax benefit. And that's what we love. Like, like to make great income, invest in multifamily, and get to pay the least amount of taxes.
I love that. And so, does investing in multifamily apartments, is it the same like how someone would invest in a single family, right? For instance, if you have a deal that I invest in a 65 unit apartment, I don't have all of the money, right? And so I get 1%, right? I have enough for 1% of that 65 unit apartment, right? Now at 1%, with all of the rents collected, do I get 1% of the cash flow? Is that how it works?
Yes. So, okay, really good point. I'll get to that. The first distinction is when you buy a single family home, you have to personally sign the loan.
Yes.
When you invest with us, you're investing as an equity partner. So but you don't sign on the loan. So you're not signing on a $40 million loan. That's not on your balance. Like, that's on ours. So that's the major distinction. There's no personal liability because you're a limited partner. Single family home, someone falls on it, we live in a litigious society, they can sue.
Wow.
Right? So you can, unless you have really good asset protection, you're more vulnerable in single family. Okay, so that's the first part. So that's like a major distinction. Single family home also is valued by comps. So if your neighbors are comparable. So if your neighbors are selling their property below what you think is market value, you probably can't get the appraisal value to be that high.
Right.
So you have limited control over the value. Multifamily, the value derives from the income it produces. So we have all the manager of the property, asset manager, we have all the control over how much income, how much expense the property is going to generate. So therefore, we can control the value of the property. Wow.
So if I understand you correctly, regardless of, let's say, what the rent is in an area, for a single family home, the value is based on what the last person sold it for. So if the last person was, in financial stress and they sell it at a discount, now that affects the value of your place. Yeah. When you do multifamily apartments, it's really based on, it's like a business. It's based on the income that's coming in, regardless of what
everything else.
It could be an abandoned building across the street.
Yeah.
Right? Worth nothing. But you have a building and it's cash flowing based on what the rents are, and that's what the value is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. And that's why it's so important to pick who you want to invest with.
Yeah.
You have to pick the one who actually know how to execute those business plan, how to increase the income, how to reduce the expenses so that you can have net operating income like at the highest level. And that's how the
and then, like,
commercial value is
determined. To circle back to what you said about the equity percentage, you're totally right. So as a passive investor on the passive side, you get to make money on both the cash flow that the property produces, and also we will sell this property typically in 3 to 5 years. Whatever gain we make, you get a portion of that that is directly in alignment with your percentage of ownership.
Wow.
So you get to participate on the upside.
Wow.
And typically, not a promise because there's no guarantees, but typically we try to go for about 100% return overall. What does that mean?
So like it's like kind of having your own like virtual ATM machine where you put in a dollar and it spit out $2 while you're sleeping, enjoying life, and just living and raising your family.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then spend time at
3
your
to
kids'
5
events.
years.
Right. And I mean, I love this model, right? Because a couple of things, to unpack is, number one, the liability aspect of it, right? The fact that you are a you're limited partner, which means that, right, you still own a percentage of this corporation.
Yep.
You're not signing on it personally, and so your liability is limited.
Yep.
But you get to take advantage of the upside.
Yep.
You get cash flow.
Yep.
And when that property is sold,
You get the profit.
You get the profit.
And on top of that, there's a cap on how many you can own in single family, right?
I think there's 10 loans per person. You can
and then
only
a
hold
couple
10.
is like 20.
Right.
I mean, if you have money more to invest more than 20, you're cap.
Right.
Right? But in multifamily apartments, it's not
You
cap.
can have 10,000 units. You're not signing on any of the loans.
So there's no limitation to growing your wealth.
Wow.
There's no ceiling.
So let me get that right. So somebody invests in a single family home.
If they borrow their
If
money,
they're borrowing the money, banks will only lend them up to 10.
Yeah.
And if there's a married couple, they can get 20.
Yep.
What if they decided to do it through an LLC or a company?
Same thing. 'Cause
Same thing.
For the most part, single family homes, the banks, they don't even want you to buy through an LLC. You would buy through your personal name and then
Right.
do like a quick claim deed to
Right.
an LLC. Because for most part, businesses will not have that type of credit to buy a home.
Yep. Wow.
So most of the time it will be in your personal name.
they need you to be the collateral.
Yeah, like they will cross collateralize
With
those rentals with whatever assets you have, and that's where you increase your risk.
Yep.
If you don't pay rent, you have to pay. If you can't afford to pay, like during COVID, there's a moratorium.
Yep.
People like in New York City, for example,
California.
like small landlords were like suffering because
Absolutely.
going through foreclosures because people didn't get evicted because it was COVID.
Right.
But they have to pay the mortgage. The banks didn't say.
They still there wasn't a moratorium.
There
on-
was,
For landlords.
but the repercussion of a moratorium for landlords
Yeah.
means that you pretty much won't be able to get a loan, like future loans, because they make it very prohibitive for landlords.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so how do you, and this is just a personal question
Yeah.
that I have now, how do you leverage, or can you still leverage your ownership in multifamily apartments?
Yeah.
So like, let's say for instance, like as a real estate investor, I could leverage the properties I own already to get other loans. It shows that I'm a seasoned investor and I can get hard money loans, things of that nature. As I'm investing in these multifamily apartments, can I leverage, the fact that I own these properties in any way?
You can.
Okay.
So the thing is, like, we always tell people that they need to have a personal financial statement and a schedule of real estate owned updated at least every quarter. Personal financial statement, in this case, different from banks, is that we consider these investments as assets. You know how banks sometimes they're like, this is a liability because you owe money on it.
Yep.
But for us, we don't look at it that way. And a lot of lenders who lend specifically for multifamily do not think that it's a liability, it's an asset because it's income producing.
Right.
So for people who are passive investing, that net worth will continue to grow pretty significantly. They'll see a good jump in their net worth. So therefore, if they need to go out and get a loan on their own for something else, like we have doctors who are investors who need to go get loans for like they're buying their homes or whatever. They're always asking for an updated valuation from us so that they can increase their net worth.
Wow.
And if you're actively doing this, your net worth can jump tenfold within like a couple years.
Wow.
If your passively goes
so
well fast.
what is the what does it take to start, right? Like and I want to dive into sort of like the deals too, right? And how you guys got started and things of that nature. But for somebody who is like, oh, I love this, I want to get into multifamily apartments, like what does it take to start? Like how do I find the Kitti Sisters, right? I mean, now you guys are lucky, right? Because we're on this show. But if somebody wanted to like find syndicators or find people who have access to these deals, how do they find them? And then what is the minimum? Like how much do you have to invest to get in?
Yeah, so there are many resources to find people. Like you can check out blog, podcast, YouTube channel, real estate events, meetups, like local meetups and stuff like that. Like for us, our journey,
or referral as well.
Like and referral is the big one. Like our journey started as passive investors. That's how we got started and kind of get to know like people, and literally like the best place to start is being passive, so that you kind of know if you're actually interested to do active too, right? Like we don't know, and you get paid along the way to learn.
Yep.
So
like we lived in LA and we were in an LA bubble, but our first passive investments were in Texas, and that exposed us to a totally new market.
And then
the syndicator,
and then we invest in other areas
right?
as well,
And then
right?
the syndicator then gave us market reports. Like industry reports that we didn't even know were available, and taught us like, look, this is what you look for. This is why this is a good area. And we can take that knowledge and then like Nan said, first decide like, it is work to be active, right? Passive is super easy.
Yeah.
You find someone that you
it's like
know, like, and trust.
It's good
and
for
invest in
someone
them.
who's like making great active income, and you're like, how do I grow my wealth? What is my next step? I don't want to own single family. I don't want to deal with tenant toilets, termite and trash. Like that would be a great step. And the minimum, it depends. Like some syndicators start with $50K, some start with $100, and then we have seen $300,000. It really depends on your comfort level.
Yep.
Yeah.
But what we've discovered is the higher minimum,
The more
quality investors you have.
Okay.
They'll have less questions because they're more sophisticated in investing. They understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Because absolutely there's real risk, right?
Yeah.
Because like in any investments, there's always real risk. Either like we talk a lot on our podcast, either the asset class risk or the operation risk. So if that's why we like a higher minimum, so that if this is not your only source of money, like you can afford to lose this, then you should be in this game.
Yeah. And so how do you though? There's a lot of people who claim to know stuff and to do stuff, right? So, I had a gentleman who I familiar with, and they were just talking about how many, like, oh, I got this amount of doors, and I got this, I got that. And then as a former banker, like sometimes I play dumb just to let people go with their stories. But as a former banker, I'm like asking questions, and the math just wasn't mathing for me. I'm like, wait, well, that doesn't make any sense. And what it looked like was he worked with a syndicator and was referring people to that syndicator, and then somehow was taking claim for like referral claims as if it was his door. So I still couldn't make sense out of it, to the point where I was like, I'm probably not going to be investing with this guy, right? How do you, like for instance, I will be doing business with you, right? Because I have a lot of friends who have done business with you, right? And so I don't need to, obviously there's vetting, but I don't really need to vet you because I know people who are actively making money, and so they've done the work or whatever the case may be, and so they could kind of vouch. But like for
new
somebody
people
who doesn't have, who's not Ash Cash, who doesn't have access, right, to millionaire friends who could like vouch, like what is someone looking for to know that this is a good deal, and I should be doing business with these people?
And that's why we say education is important, right? Because once you get educated, you're gonna understand the numbers. While by understanding numbers, then you can invest more confidently. But apartment syndication is really about betting on the jocker, which is the people who actually
who's behind the deal. So
deals.
Like syndicators are gonna be like, you can have two exact deals, but the one who actually pay attention and care and actually want to operate the deal correctly will do well. So what you have to do if you're getting started, the first thing is like, do not invest with anyone who you just met. That's like, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but people actually get really allured by the returns, by what was promised, and they jump a little bit too far ahead. I would study them. If for us, we have a lot of social media content. We have stuff on YouTube, we have Instagram. Listen to what we say. Your instinct, you're really smart, successful people. Your audience, they have that gut instinct. They understand like what makes sense. Like if it's too good to be true, don't do it. and just ask for referrals.
And then number 2 would be like vet them, right? Like when you first meet them, you get to know them, you get to consume their content, or even just schedule a call with them and see how they are, and just follow them, and then really, really have that like confidence.
Yeah. And then like also do micro investments. So we understand multifamily investing is not a $5,000 project. It's at least 50, 75, 100,000, right? But for the people who can afford to play this game, 100,000 is considered a micro investment. Because I don't want $1 million from you, Ash Cash. Like, I wouldn't take it. But you give me $100,000 to invest, you can see how am I like, if there's issues, am I responsive? If you have questions, because there are syndicators who will just go MIA. Like they're like your friends, they'll call you, they'll have wine and dine the minute they get your money. They're out, they're like, you ask them any hard questions, they don't reply.
And then you can also ask for their past
Referral.
or case study, right?
Yeah, like how have they done? Who are the people who can give me a couple names of people that you've done this with and are successful?
Yeah. And so I hear syndicator.
Yeah.
I hear jockey.
Yeah.
Who are all involved in a transaction for multi-family apartments? When I hear syndicator, I hear connect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So like I hear like this is the connect. This is the person that has access to the money, has access to the deal,
Yes.
has access to the investor, and then they syndicate.
Yep.
They bring all of these
pool
people
the resources.
together.
Yes.
Right? They pool these resources together, right? Because the bank, the person who has the money, the person who has the deal, who owns the property, the investors, they may not they live in different worlds.
Yeah.
They're in different spaces. They don't know each other. And so the syndicator is the person that goes out and says, you know what, let me connect you. I'm gonna bridge the gap between these people.
I love how you actually
That's a
describe,
new way of saying it. We're gonna
like
that.
top like great syndicator actually get better deals.
Yeah.
There can be a lot of syndicators, but they may not get good deals, and that not good deals mean they may not get a great return, right?
So like for us, for our most recent deal that we just closed, $77 million deal.
Whoa.
So that happened.
You said, wait. You said that lightly. 77 million.
Yeah, it becomes, it's just, just
digits
at this point. So
we closed previous to $77 million. We closed $71 million.
yeah, so basically like on a $77 million deal, the brokers have to have extreme confidence that you can close as the buyer.
Because
And
we had to
that'll-
rate $38 million,
Yeah,
right?
and so that only comes from previous relationships with, like, for instance, this broker, we're new to him, but we've transacted with his colleague in different cities.
Which we raised 34 millions and we closed at $71 million.
So basically, we're like, we're new to you, but reach out to this guy. Reach out to this guy, because he can vouch that we're easy to work with.
Yep.
We can close the deal. We
and
can keep our word.
We keep our words, even when capital market was crazy. And so
The interest rate was climbing.
So like
right?
that connector, that was probably, and with the lender as well, we've transacted like 8 times with this one lender.
like over $200 million.
Yeah. So to have the relationships we do, like real estate is a relationship business. Only the people who have the best relationships make the most money because they get the best deals.
Yeah. So take me back, right? Because your first deal was how much?
6.9.
6.9
So
million.
the very first time
time.
you guys did multifamily apartment, 6.9 million.
Yep.
Because I keep hearing you're raising these funds, right? Does that mean that the Kitti Sisters did well for themselves, had $6.9 million, and said, "Hey, I want to buy this building"?
Yeah.
How did that work?
That was not the case.
No, we didn't come from that.
So basically, that was our first deal. We started out with 0 connections. We didn't have any Rolodex of anyone with money, but we had the belief that we can raise money.
Wow.
And so we
we were so honest to our investors that we are new to multifamily, but our team aren't new. Like the property management team has been in the business for like 30 years. Like the syndicator lawyers and everyone else, they're experienced. We're newer.
Yeah.
But we're not new to real estate, and we're not new to business.
So you guys had did real estate prior to this syndication?
Yeah, I mean,
We did flipping, and then we
held our own single family rental. It wasn't massive, but it gave us some experience. And then when we would go to meetups and stuff.
And again, the investor, they invest because these are like, they do micro investment with us. Yeah. Like they're not investing millions of dollars with us on their first deal. So they're like, you know what? I love real estate. I want to get into multifamily. Yeah. And I believe that they have that execution certainty that they will not lose my money. Yeah. I'm going to do some investment with them and see how it goes.
And do you have to have money? Like, can I just say, you know what, I want to become a syndicator and not put any money into a deal? Or do you have to put money into a deal?
You have to have some money, some skin in the game.
First of all, investors, passive investors love us to have skin in the game. But second of all, we love to make money too. Right. We want to create our wealth. And then once we make money, where do we put it? We reinvest it in our own deal because we want it to grow. Yeah. But as passive investor, it's kind of like you need to start with having money because the whole game is having your money makes baby for you.
But here's a question though. So what's the benefit though of being a syndicator? Yeah. You don't get paid.
You get paid.
Okay.
You get paid. So there's fees and you get like equity percentages. So there are some fees. Typical standard fees would be like acquisition fee that you buy, like acquiring the property, asset management fee. Sometimes there's refinance fee or disposition fee, something like that.
So you get fees, but the kicker is once the property does well and it's sold, that's when you make big bucks.
So you get an equity. So basically the limited partners, as the person who signed on the loan up front, like maybe even $1 million of earnest money, like a lot of money up front, putting the deal together, like you said, all those pieces we have to combine, right? Yeah. They give us equity in the property. So typically it's at least 20%.
Okay.
So
20, 30, yeah.
Yeah, so 20 to 30% of the equity raised, they give us to us as shares in the company.
Because we're trading time and grinding away.
And then once we do really, really well, manage the property in 3 to 5 years when we sell, we also benefit from that 20, 30% equity.
Because you put your money in there.
And they also gave us equity. So they're giving us 20%.
So you're going to make money off of the money that you put in, right? Yeah. So let's say, for instance, the $6.8 million deal, how much did you guys put in?
So I think collectively, how much was that? Like 2-3% of it.
Yeah. So that one was a small deal. So maybe $300K or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the raise was $3 million.
Yeah.
So we put 2-3% of that.
And then so if the raise was $3 million.
Oh, 10%.
So why was the raise $3 million? Why wasn't the raise $6 million? Where did the other $3 million come from?
$6 million. The rest came from loan. So we got a loan from Freddie Mac.
Oh, got it. So. And insiders, I hope you stand with me. I'm doing the math in my head. So, $6.9 million deal.
I think leverage was around 60+%. 65%.
So let's say, $6.8 million deal. Chase Bank decide. I'm just
using it
Freddie
Mac.
Freddie Mac. All right. So let's say Freddie Mac decides to give you $3 million. They like this deal. Yeah. Looks good. They say, you know what? We're not going to give you the whole $6.8 million.
6.9.
We're going to give you $3.8 million.
Yep.
And then you have to figure out the rest of the $3 million.
Yes.
So now you have $3 million that you have to raise. You say, we're going to put in $300,000 ourselves, right? And so now we have $2.7 million that we have to raise. So now you start going to people and say, hey, I got this deal, right?
Yeah.
This deal, this building is such and such place, $6.8 million. Like there's a presentation, I'm assuming, that you now make.
Yes.
Right? And then now you're asking people for money.
Right.
We're actually giving them opportunity to grow their wealth.
So we're not asking them.
So we're not, it's not an ask. It's more like they want to be in this deal because their money is losing value in the bank.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to clarify is like, due to SEC regulations, you
Yep.
have to have pre-existing relationships before you attempt to raise money from people. So it's not like I go off the street and like, hey, Shot, you have money. You want to invest with me? Like we do 506B. So therefore,
now, yeah.
So in that circumstance, it wasn't like I just met you today and I just raised money for you. You have to build that relationship
Gotcha.
ahead of time.
Yes,
Gotcha.
and those relationships, they understand that their money sitting in a bank is either gonna be eaten away by inflation or taxation.
Gotcha.
So the money is looking for a place to put.
It's chasing yield.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, got it now. And so, do you have to be an accredited investor in order to?
So
Get it.
because of 506B, you can take.
And what's 506B?
So it's under Reg D 5. It's a regulation by the SEC. Basically, the goal is to protect investors' interests in like private placement, like not publicly traded on the stock market.
Gotcha.
So they want to protect investors. They don't want us to take people who are only like $5,000 and like if they lose this money, they don't understand what they're getting into.
Yep.
Essentially, what it means is like you can afford to lose money.
Got it.
Okay. And so accredited investors, you can take as many as you want. We are allowed to also take 35 sophisticated investors.
Okay.
They may not meet the criteria for
Income.
or
the net worth.
for an accredited, but they've studied real estate. They've been in real estate.
They own rentals.
rentals. They understand what's
Gotcha.
happening.
So quickly, a accredited investor is based on their net worth
Or income.
the amount of money they make, and then based on that, that criteria, the SEC says you are accredited.
Yeah.
You could afford to lose.
You know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing. You could play this game.
Yep.
Yes.
If you will.
Yep.
A sophisticated investor doesn't necessarily have to have
Yeah.
the net worth or the income, but as long as they have the education, like Nan mentioned earlier, like having that education,
Yep.
as long as they have that education,
Yeah.
they're a sophisticated investor and they could also
Correct.
invest. Got it.
Yes, and there's many sophisticated investors who invest in multifamily apartments and became accredited investor
Because of the net worth.
Right.
and keep growing.
Wow.
Right.
Wow,
So now
wow.
all of a sudden after, like we have an investor who's a repeat investor.
Yep.
She started out investing because she was afraid that she was going to lose her job.
Right.
But she fortunately never lost her job, but kept
Yeah.
investing.
So
So
now she became accredited
accredited
investor.
investor.
So that's an interesting point, because I want to unpack this because I don't want nobody to miss this. Right. Interesting point is this is why, and I've been saying this for years.
Yeah.
But like just now, I had a light bulb moment because I've been saying that because I've been a financial educator for over 20 years, right? Teaching people how to change their mindset, manage money better. And for me, it was because I wanted people to understand how money works, right? Like I need you to understand how money works so you could build wealth, so you could create financial freedom. But it was at this moment with the Kitti Sisters that I actually learned that it's not only about understanding how money works, you could be left out of wealth building opportunities if you don't have this education.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because if somebody, right, let's say, someone like myself who grew up low income, and I'm or somebody watching who is like, listen, I want to build wealth, and I could do the slow grind, I could figure it out myself or whatever the case may be, but there's opportunities where I could exponentially grow my wealth. But if I don't have the net worth, if I don't have the income, then these opportunities are not even afforded to me.
Yeah.
And knowing that like 99.9% of people who are wealthy do it through real estate, I need to be a sophisticated investor. Like it's actually, I would say like illegal because SEC is like a government governing body.
Yeah, you go to jail.
You could go to jail. Like we know people who go to jail for violating SEC rules.
Yes.
And so it's actually illegal to build wealth with these opportunities if you don't have the education.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Didn't think of it that way. Wow. Yeah.
And on top of that, you can build wealth by being active investors as well. Like when we talk about having money make money, but for someone who wants to become active investor, and then become passive investor. That can be wealth. You don't have to have millions of dollars to start being active investor as well. You can pull together resources, have that connection, be like us, or be part of us and join a team who can help bring them together. You can grow your wealth that way too. And honestly, 10x is easier than 2x sometimes.
So let's go back, right? Because I've been sold. And that was one of the reasons why I thought it was important to bring you onto the show, because my goal always, for my insiders specifically, is to always just give them opportunity, like open up their mind to what's available from a wealth building standpoint. But I know that, people are, skeptical a lot of times as it relates to wealth. And they might be making sort of like excuses for themselves, right? So take me back, right? Take me back to like the Kitti Sisters, right? Because the Kitti Sisters were, part of royalty, heir to the throne, grew up with money, and then used that money to now build wealth. That's the story.
Yeah, they think that.
They think that.
Yeah.
Tell me the real story.
I mean, when we lost our fashion business, we had savings, but the reason we had savings because we didn't manage to outspend what we made.
Yeah, but take me before the fashion business, right?
Yeah.
Because were you guys born here in America?
We came here when we were little.
So basically, our parents sacrificed so much to give us a good life, but at the same time, their life, because they didn't learn about this thing about financial freedom, they have a roller coaster life. And this could be so many people who like, hey, as entrepreneurs, there's nothing guaranteed. Well, you make the same monthly income every single month. Sometimes you may and sometimes you don't, right? Yeah. So for them, they're entrepreneurs. So their life has just been roller coaster.
And when you say roller coaster, good times, bad times,
good
money up, money down.
All the time.
All the time, right?
Like our lives have been like that.
And here's the thing. They're great at making income, but what they're not good at is producing wealth.
Yeah.
So once they make great income, like so many people,
it goes away.
It goes away because like Robert Kiyosaki said, like there's poor people, there's middle class people, and there's rich people. Yeah. So we were the kind of middle class, but okay. So let's go back first. Poor people, they think that hey, money is there to pay their bills, right? And then the middle class people is hey, they have a better life, and they think that their mindset is that
build better credit,
to go buy stuff, and that's kind of like our family. We're like kind of like middle class. We have some money, yet we spend it all. We don't build wealth. They don't invest in real estate. So we're not like the rich people where, hey, when I make $1, $10, $100, $100,000, $1 million, I have to grow that money. Yep. Like they didn't have that mentality, and that's why they keep on having roller coaster. Because as entrepreneur, again, like sometimes they make
it's not predictable.
Yeah.
Right.
They sometimes, like Palm said, right? Yep. Like before earlier, even though we have the right to write our own paycheck, but we don't because we always have to reinvest into the business. Yeah. And that's what our parents have done throughout their whole entrepreneurship. Yeah. Make money, spend the money, invest in the business. Yeah. And when they became obsolete, when they are no longer desired or they're,
the business changed, the landscape changed.
Or even like digital marketers, like you put so much money in Facebook ad and something happened
with
algorithm and it doesn't work.
Over like the net, like in a flash,
instance.
All the money that you were relying on Facebook switches, and now you're scrambling to figure things out.
That's why it's so important to build wealth, because when you have the chance, so that when these kind of things happen, your lifestyle doesn't change.
Especially people like us, we came from nothing. Yeah, you don't want to go back to. You definitely don't want your kids to be on the streets.
Never, yeah.
And so it's like, we know that.
So that's how our background was. We didn't come from money. We definitely didn't come from money.
And our parents' lives were like this. They'll make money, they'll lose money, make money. And it's like, so trading time for money for them wasn't the answer, because if it was, they would constantly have money.
Yeah. So actually, time doesn't equal to money. Yep. And we thought that was time equal to money, but no, that's not it. That's not it.
No. Yeah. And so you have to figure out, like, this is why rich people tend to continue to become even more wealthy, because they figured out that if I put $1 into the world, it needs to come back like tenfold.
Yeah.
and without my effort.
Right.
And for those who don't have money, find a way to use other people. Find that $1 by using other people's money.
I kept wanting to bring up your background because, first of all, there's a similarity almost in your parents' story and your story, where your dad has a business, business is doing well.
Yeah.
Something like this one catastrophic
Yes.
event happens, loses everything, has to start over, right?
But he kept going.
But he kept going.
He kept going back to the same business.
Yep.
But because we learned from them, like, there must be a better way.
Right.
There must be a different way. And then we keep on searching.
Right. So now you guys have front row seat and you see that. You guys start a fashion business. Business is doing very, very well.
Yes.
This one catastrophic event, just like your parents, happened.
Yes.
That, sort of shatters the business.
Yeah.
But you guys were dibbling and dabbling in other things as well.
Yes.
That sort of allowed you to now go in this direction of building that wealth. So I wanted to bring that up because I feel like, a lot of people, and you guys articulated that very eloquently, where, there are the poor people who are, just working for money.
Yeah.
I work for money, I'm going to buy things. Work for money, buy things. You got the middle class people who are doing better.
They buy more things.
Right, but they buy more things and they're reliant on their income.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so they're reliant on their income. And honestly, when you think about digital, when you think about AI, like there are things happening that's, in my opinion, are going to wipe out the middle class at some point.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think who said, but I want to say it was probably the Fed. It was somebody that said that AI is going to get rid of 300 million jobs. Is that?
Wow.
I think that I read somewhere that artificial intelligence is going to get rid of 300 million jobs.
Oh my God.
20 or 200 million or 20 million. I forget the stats, but are in the U.S. Right. So you got millions of people who are going to lose their job.
Yeah.
And then worldwide, it's this number. The one thing that AI can't take away is the ownership of real assets.
Right.
Yes.
And so the truth is, if you're in a position to make money right now, you should be finding a way to have that money transferred into real assets.
Yes.
Right?
And have other people work on it.
Exactly.
You don't have to you don't have to make all the decisions. You don't have to go to the boardroom meeting. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Have the expert do what they do, and you just live your life.
Like, circling back to our feeling, like the moment that we lost that income from fashion, we actually felt like shame on us. How did we not see this?
So you guys had the fashion business. How big did you build it?
We grossed, like, at the end, about like 4.3 million.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't small. We had a very nice lifestyle. We were spending lavishly.
And it was just two of us.
Yeah.
We didn't have any employees.
But, like,
wow, just two.
Yeah.
Yes.
Generating millions of dollars.
because we leveraged. But
and we started with $2,000 bank account
Wow.
yeah, and we borrowed her money. I didn't even know.
in 3 years.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
So we were like, why are we so stupid to keep repeating the same mistake?
Right.
We saw them do this, and yet we fell in the same trap.
Right.
And so that's like, never again. Like, that's not happening. Something is obvious. There are people out there who's doing really, really well and aren't working as hard as us.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
And honestly, when we were trading a lot of time for money, we felt like we didn't even give ourselves permission to even rest, even if we just like for even a 15-minute rest or a nap, because we thought we don't have what it takes. We're not ambitious enough. We don't have like we
What
don't
it takes.
Yeah, or we're not doing it right. Like, we actually gave ourselves so much guilt, even though like we should be able to, like,
To relax.
We want people to be able to control their time, their finances, and their future, right? Yeah. But we were living in the life where like we couldn't control anything. We were making great income, but we can't even rest because we always have to be on call and always have to answer to other people's schedules, their calendar. We don't have our own calendar. We take holidays based on when they say is okay.
When our customers are on holiday, we get to go on holidays.
Right.
Even though we're making money, but we can't. And like our customers would literally make us feel, we canceled like a whitewater rafting trip like a day before because she was like, you need to be in your office.
Wow.
Even though we don't produce here, we produce in Asia.
We're like, even though it was handled, but she didn't feel comfortable not having us in our office in case she needed us. Like stuff like that happened all the time.
I think it's
so when you think you work for yourself, you actually don't. You work for.
You just got yourself another job, like another mean boss who can.
As a multimillionaire,
a mean boss.
You still got a mean boss.
And that's why so many successful entrepreneurs, like high-level entrepreneurs, wants to start real estate because that's the way you get to actually control your own time, your own schedule, and you have like you kind of built an army of like money's making money for you.
Yeah.
So that's like the wealth part. That's like. Right now, focus on your active income because that's where you've learned how to make a lot of money. Yeah. Like the book from The Richest Man in Babylon. Take at least 10%, pay yourself first. Yeah. Pay yourself first does not mean go buy a Ferrari. It means take that money and go invest in real assets that will grow your wealth. At some point in the future, hopefully not too long, that wealth would actually be generating more income than you're active. At that point, now you can focus on growing your wealth instead of focusing on your active.
You can work or you don't work.
Yeah, no, I love that. And then two points that I want to make sure that we cover is one, the tax benefits of being a real estate investor. Can you talk about that? And,
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Like
so that's
seriously, like
a lot
of investors invest, like high net worth individual invest because of this major tax benefit. Paul, you want to explain how to get it?
So basically, in 2017, Trump passed the Tax Cut Jobs Act, and that allowed for this thing called bonus depreciation to happen. Before, depreciation is linear, like every year, 27 and a half years, whatever the value of the property minus the land cost, you get to deduct that from like your home. It's like maybe a couple $1,000s a year. Yep. Single family home, so multifamily, we weren't allowed to push all there's things that are like real personal properties, like light fixtures, the floor, the building itself, anything.
The government said there's useful life for everything, and then
the things that are 5 and 15 years, now we're able to push all that into year one of ownership, so the deduction is larger. And because we're only holding these properties for 3 to 5 years, we're able to maximize the deduction because we're not holding it for 15. We're holding it for a shorter period of time. So essentially for this year, the deduction is 80%. Essentially, like whatever the depreciable amount is, you get to take 80% of that. And that could be millions of dollars.
Wow. And then that saves from their tax liability.
Yeah, so if they're passive only.
Yeah, so instead of paying Mr. IRS, you can use that tax benefit to offset your other passive income. Or if you qualify as a real estate professional, you may
elect to offset your ordinary income.
And that's huge. That's a major game changer.
Your scenario, your wife is into real estate. She is probably already a full-time real estate professional.
You just need to talk to your CPA and then see if she's
whatever
qualified.
You invest, whatever depreciable amount, you then can use that to offset your
active
income.
Active income.
Your
income. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
But she has to be qualified as a real estate professional. Yep. So check with your CPA and see if
it's not hard.
Yeah. And so, one of the things also that we talked about behind the scenes that I wanted to make sure that I bring up as well is that this $77 million deal, one of the ways that you were able to get it was because this specific investor was looking to invest with minorities.
Yes.
Right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Basically, basically the seller didn't say like it had to be a minority group to buy it, but she basically said like it would be a great idea if it was.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you said. It's literally illegal for most people to have access to these amazing opportunities.
Yeah.
And so for people of color, women, to be able to have access to these type of deals, you're opening up an opportunity for a huge demographic of people who never otherwise would even be able to access these deals.
Yeah.
And while we have investors from basically every background, we do have a lot of minority investors. And I think a lot of it is because they feel comfortable. Maybe they're a woman who feel more comfortable with women investors because they've never really met many. Maybe they're just like, I just want to support you guys because of your mission, your impact story that you want to create. So in general, in this line of business, we just need more diversity.
You're right, because truthfully, real estate is a white male dominated industry. Right? We can
anything with money.
We can just be 100% honest. Like that's what it is, you know, and just understanding that think about it. If majority of wealth is built with real estate and the real estate industry is majority white male, then that means and if you're not a sophisticated investor, it's illegal for you to
partake in
it. Y'all do the math. I'm not even going to say what I'm going to say, matter of fact. You do the math, right? Because, and that's the thing that I don't think people realize about laws, about who's in office, about systems, right? About the importance of breaking down the glass ceiling, right? Because think about this, for instance, too. Minus white males, even when you start putting minorities in there, real estate is a majority male-dominated industry.
Right.
So now we have scenarios where a lot of women are boxed out of wealth, connected to their relationship or whatever the case may be. If they get a divorce, now they don't they don't have the education. Right? They don't understand. And so not only is this real estate important or for our community minorities to understand this, because women should be investing, people of color should be investing, but first and foremost, get the education. Because if you don't come from something, you don't have the net worth yet, you don't have the income yet, and so now the other way to get in, right? The other way to get in to this wealth conversation is through education.
Definitely.
So talk to us a little bit of, because you guys do offer classes, challenges, webinar, things of that, like you guys are really, really active in education. Talk a little bit about some of the initiatives you guys have going on.
I mean, essentially at the beginning, we were really
so I think we came to talk about we think 10x is really easy than 2x. Going back to our beginning story, we started with a $6.9 million apartment, and now we close at $77 million. It's a 10x jump, and we realized
in 4.5 years.
Wow.
In 4.5 years, $77 million to raise that money is $38 million is way easier than we were raising $33.9 million.
Wow.
Right? So for us, we feel like we put a lot of emphasis in education.
Why was it easier?
Track record, operational excellence, like the things that we said to do to vet sponsors, we started accumulating that. And so people were like, well, I've had past success, I'll refer my friends and families, or they're legit people. I spoke to their referrals, they're legit people. So success begets success. And that's why when you're the first in your family to ever do anything, it's the hardest.
Right.
And so for us, it becomes it's a playbook. So we're like, okay, this is what we do.
Now it's like a mastery. We're like, hey, we want to put together a deal. Okay,
this is what we do.
This is what we need to do. It's like we have gained that mastery of putting together large deal, raising money in difficult situation. The interest rate could keep climbing, but we still keep continuing to raise. So we have gained that mastery, and that's why it's so important that we pass that kind of knowledge to our listeners who can feel empowered that they can take control of their life, because we at one point didn't know we had we could do that either.
Yeah.
We thought, hey, the only way to make money is to trade time for money. And we're here to say, no, that's not the only way. And we're the proof that 2 girls from California can be owning big multifamily apartments
Out of state.
in male-dominated industry.
Yeah. What's the key? So I want to we inside the vault, right? So I want to get like inside your brain for a second.
Yeah.
What's the key to your success, would you say? Because it almost feels like each time you start from nothing.
Yes.
Right? Whether it's no money, whether it's no relationship, whether it's no
Apartments,
right? Like you're starting from nothing. But each time the success happens like in a short period of time. So like 3 years.
Wow, I love how you said this.
4 years. What's happening? What's in the kiddie pool?
So, like, honestly, I think we operate not from a place where we have no choice but to do it. Like, a lot of time, like, that's why we're so vocal about people should get started before you reach our end point. Like, we always when we don't have money, like when we lost our customer, then we start pivoting. Yeah. We didn't grow our wealth while we have money. Or when we encounter this, we start doing. So for us, you need to get started before you come to like the end road like us.
I think the thing that we have is we don't have fear. Because we understand like we do things, we get educated. We always get educated first. And so like whatever we do, we always, like the Tony Robbins success loop, we've already created that in our mind. Like we know we're gonna succeed at this. It's just a matter of time. And the other thing is like that 10x is easier than 2x principle is really, really true, because if we did everything ourselves, we would never get there. We leverage team and time from our other business as well. You saw. Yeah. We learned that like we can get further ahead in a compressed time frame if we just had the right partners, if we had the right team members to help us.
Yes, I would double down on leveraging everything, all the resources, and also don't feel stuck. You can feel stuck for a moment, but you have your whole life.
You have options.
You have options, and that's why you have to learn how to pivot. Like that's why when they're like right now, the economic condition, it doesn't hurt us. It's actually for us to even buy more real estate. When we put the right debt in place, when we put the correct business plan, when you buy in the right submarket, you're most likely will succeed. And this is like for us, this is our golden time to buy.
Yeah. No, I love it. And so like if somebody wanted to like connect and get all of this information, because I promise you, I'll have y'all here for another 2 hours, because I got a lot of questions, and I definitely, like I said, I definitely need to, get into multifamily apartments. But if somebody's looking, like they want to get in, they want to learn more, like where would they go?
Yeah. So if you want to disconnect your income generation from time and pay the least amount of taxes, you got to get started in this multifamily game. And all you have to do is go to jumpstartapartments.com. Again, it's jumpstartapartments.com.
And what's the benefit, right? So you go to jumpstartapartments.com, really they're leveraging your education, your connections, your like really helping on the education side as well.
Yeah, and like what we've seen in the past is people were like amazed at the information that they're able to get. They're able to ask some questions, things that like to clarify, because this is a brand new world for most people. Jumping from single family to multifamily, there's a gap. Yeah. It sounds similar, it's residential spaces, but there's a huge gap of knowledge, and having people who've been there, who've come from similar experience points will be really beneficial for people to like, okay, and like use us as a jumping point. That's why it's called Jumpstart Apartments. Yeah, you don't want to start from where we started. Yeah. Piggyback off of where we are at today.
And all the trials and error we have made.
So now that you don't have to start from there, now you get to jump even faster ahead. That's the point.
Love it, love it. Insiders, jumpstartapartments.com. You got to get this education. Like, I swear, the light bulb moment of understanding how a lot of us are kept out of these wealth conversations legally because we don't have the knowledge. Now, as my brother Storm Leroy says, always seek knowledge. Now you can seek knowledge by making sure you tap in with the Kitti Sisters, jumpstartapartments.com. If they wanted to connect with you, social media, where can they find you?
We're everywhere, the Kitti Sisters.
On Instagram, YouTube, or listen to our podcast, Cash Flow Multipliers.
Yeah, so
where we break down complex apartment investing and also business sides of it to a more fun and relatable topic, and then you can consumable, and follow us along and take us on your walk or folding your laundry or driving your kids to school.
Yep.
All right, y'all. We are closing out the vault. Another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Inside the Vault. Make sure you also join the Abundance Community. Go to abundancecommunity.org. We got more information behind the scenes, some gems that they didn't even drop on the show that we're going to talk about. So go to abundancecommunity.org. I am Ash Cash. Make sure you visit me, IamAshCash.com. Follow me on all social media platforms at I am Ash Cash. I will see you next time, same place, in God's will. Peace.